Hello, hello, super expanders. How are you doing? I hope that you are enjoying your day wherever you are listening to this episode. Goodness, I'm so excited for today's conversation. We have such a special guest today. And selfishly, I feel like we're going to have a conversation and I'm going to learn so much from her. And yeah, so sit back, listen while I while I soak up all the goodness. So I would love to introduce you to Colette Carlson.
Hi.
So Colette is a human design expert. She is, and so much more than that, right? Because we're so much more than what we do. But she is just a light. She is just this amazing human being with so many talents. She plays beautiful music, sound bowls. I have heard through the grapevine, although I haven't yet had the privilege to hear her, that her voice is an absolute dream. She's also a singer.
True. It's true. You just mentioned that. Thank
So
you.
Colette and I met in a mastermind. And if you're have been around for a while, you find out that all of the most amazing people that I have in my life, I have actually met through masterminds, getting in the room and expanding. And my goodness, this is really no different. We've met in our mastermind, and since then we just have built this beautiful bond that I'm so grateful for, which is why I'm so excited to share her with you today. So, Colette, I would love for you to just open up and share a little bit about who you are, just like deep down at your core. What is the essence of you?
I love this question. And obviously, there's so many different layers and levels to answer this. And I love listening to your podcast and hearing how different people have approached this question and getting to know them so much deeper than just, I'm the partner of such and such, or I do this as a career, or I'm the mother of so and so, or, the father of such and such. Because we tend to really identify ourselves through the roles that we play in life, even growing up, being the son or daughter of someone, or the belief system and the cultures that we inherit through that. So stripping it all away, I used to teach a workshop with one of my best friends who's an amazing life coach. And the first thing we would do is this meditation that I would lead on the sound bowls, and we would take people on a journey where you just cleanse off all the identifying factors and roles that we play and all of those things I mentioned, like the belief systems, the cultural, like our jobs and career paths, and just who we show up as, even our physical mask that we put on to the world and all the different areas. Just cleanse it away and get really deep in the core of just feeling like, what is that rhythm? What is that pulse? What is the energy of the essence of the core of who we are? And I've done this meditation many times. And as I connect to that place, it's always just come through for me that I am light. And I love that you just mentioned that in your opening of um, seeing that there's, a connection. I'm bringing the light. And I feel like so many of us have that within, like we're light workers. We're here to light in the darkness. We're here to illuminate others. We're here to shine. And that was really a huge permission slip for me to step into that light and own it and be it and share that candle's flame, but to light up other people through sharing the light. So who am I? I think right down at the core, that energy is light. But obviously, there's so many layers and levels of how I express that in my life, and that's what really led me into human design. Because it's such a comprehensive system of getting to know all the different nuances and all the different facets of like what makes us up as human beings. So so
I
yeah,
love
I'd love
that.
to ask the question. I hope I've answered it.
Oh, I mean, there's no wrong or right. way to answer that. So you absolutely answered it perfectly. I also love that that's what I saw, that's what I mean, that's really truly, I do see the light. It emanates off of you. You bring such a pure, just feeling to everything that you do. And I'll have to say, when I found out that you were an expert in human design, I was so excited because so many times I have wanted to learn more about it, but it's such a complex, deep, it's more than a topic. I don't even, it's so explain to us, because I'm not using great words to talk about it. So I've had the privilege of experiencing a personal reading with you, which is just touching on really the tip of the iceberg of even for me learning about it. And I've read, some things about it, but let's dive into human design. Tell me a little bit, well, tell me a lot about it, and what sort of bucket can we put it into? So it's more than a topic.
You're so right. It's like a system or a science. It's really the mechanism or a blueprint of how we're wired as human beings. So it's a synthesis of four ancient modalities, which include astrology, Kabbalah, the Chinese I Ching, and the Hindu chakra system, blended and merged with modern quantum physics and genetic science. So, like, it's a hugely vast, hugely comprehensive system that creates a map to show us like our circuitry as humans, which depending on the time we were born, and it brings also when we were in utero, what was happening in the planets. And it puts it all together to really show us, how we experience life energetically, how that feels internally, and how we receive energy from the external world. Because everything is energy, like when you strip it all down, you have the particle and the wave and everything, in not only like physical matter, but we have the auric field around us, that energy that we emit. So this human design map is really showing us how that energy is flowing in our inner system, in our circuitry, in our like programming, how it's wired, where we're experiencing the energy the most, how we're expressing it, how we're receiving it from the external world, and really just gives us a hugely deep understanding of who we are and why we are how we are. I think is
Oh,
one of the huge parts of human design is like this massive permission slip to be yourself and to own and embrace all of those wonderful parts of you. There's no good or no bad in human design. It really is simply, this is how energy is flowing through your system. This is how you're experiencing it. This is how you're expressing it. And understanding how to make the best use out of that energy.
wow.
Does that make sense? I mean, it's
It does. And now that's really why I thought, wow, this is really, really complicated. I did not know that it took all four of those modalities and put them together. And then also adding the quantum physics piece to it. So how did you get into human design, and how long did it take you to come to a place where you actually started to connect the dots and really understand it?
so in human design, they call it living the experiment. And I think I'll always be living the experiment because the more I get to know about myself and the deeper I get into it, the more insights and revelations I have of like, what's in there. We're all so multifaceted as human beings. So how I got into it was really trying to understand that. Who am I? That big question. And my sister was the person who introduced me to human design. She gifted me a series of 3 sessions with a human design reader, maybe 4 years ago. And it was great. I got a really good understanding of how I'm designed to operate correctly, is how they say it in human design terms. Um, and and yeah, it just gave me a lot of validation. Like, this is who I am. This is who I'm born to be, and to own and embrace all of those great qualities, and also to embrace the sensitivities too, how I could use them showing up in my life in positive ways. Instead of just looking at it and being like, oh, like I suck, or these are my so-called weaknesses. They're not, they can be used, they can be harnessed, and they can show up in many amazing ways in different areas of my life. So I got this great understanding of me, and it was fun. I'd already been dabbling in Reiki, and I was doing my sound healing and meditations and taking people on a journey. And as you mentioned, I came out of the music industry as a singer, and that's slowly circling back in my life and coming through my meditation music. But I used to joke that I went from writing songs about breaking up with boys to writing meditations about connecting to yourself. And so I'd been on this journey of like self-exploration, and human design was a great component to add to my toolbox and understanding, getting to know who I am. But it wasn't until my daughter was born, and now she's about to turn 4 in a few months, well, in 2 months. When she was born and I was getting to know her personality and seeing the little parts of what makes her unique and totally different to me emerge, when I was seeing these things, I was like, I don't know this person. I don't understand this person. She's not me. She doesn't need what I needed when I was a baby. She has a completely different personality, a completely different design, totally different types. And that's when I really turned to human design to be like, I need to know who my daughter is. I need to understand her, and how to understand how I can best parent her ultimately at the end of the day. What does she need from me? So I became obsessed. I got all the books, I did all the courses, I followed, some really influential people in this human design world. And I just couldn't get enough information. I was just like devouring it and digesting it. And, just, it overwhelmed my life. It just came. I think human design has that. When you're meant to work with its system, it comes for you, and it just like encompasses everything you do and sucks you in and sucks you under in the best possible way. And so I started really to learn and understand who my daughter is, not in a sense where I project stuff on her, like, well, this is who you are and this is how you're designed to live, but in a way where I can hold space and understanding when I see those parts of her personality come through, or parts of her design come through. And it's like, oh yeah, that's exactly, you're operating exactly as you're wired. And so now I can hold space for that and observe it and just let her be her and support her in being her, instead of trying to condition her to be anything different or put my stuff on her, my triggers, or even, the way that I'm designed. I don't want to have that like influence or affect her in ways where it shouldn't necessarily. So yeah, that's what really got me hooked on human design. And now just seeing how incredibly specific and incredibly accurate the system is for every single individual. So when I started doing other members of my family, doing my husband, doing my sisters, doing my parents, doing my best friends, and really seeing like, wow, this is crazy. It's not just like, astrology is really insightful and it's amazing. It's been used for thousands and thousands of years. I feel like human design brings in a lot of astrology, but it just gets in deeper and deeper. So you really get seen exactly as you are, like all the different specifics, all the different elements that create, this energy of who you are as a human being.
It's so fascinating. And I love that really the piece that drew you in was deciphering your daughter. I feel like this just in and of itself is revolutionary for parents. And I say that because I have a daughter who's grown now. And one of the things that I was hyper aware of when she was younger was exactly what you're talking about, but I didn't have the way to interpret it. But I had this deep understanding that she was not me. And I feel like I had witnessed so many different parents in my life parenting their children, sort of living vicariously through and trying to force their kids into the mold that they are and were. And I feel like it's so damaging and so detrimental. And to allow for, or to have a resource and a language, a modality to truly understand your children so that you can parent them in the way that they will thrive. This is so, so amazing, which of course brings me to how it is that you're bringing this forth in your business. Let's talk about this a little bit. Human design and parenting.
Yeah, so right now, for the last 6 weeks, I've been running a course with other parents, um, just getting to know their children, like supporting them in having that understanding who your child is and how they're wired and how they're designed, um, because it doesn't ever change. You know, we're born as babies, like coming into this world equipped with everything. Like the soul is there, pureness is there from day one. That light is shining so bright. And then we go on this life journey, and whether it's like you mentioned, like coming from our parents, or whether it's coming from society or coming from the systems around us, that we get conditioned. You know, we pick up all this stuff, we get programmed in different ways. But when we strip it all down to this essence of what is inside us, and to this map, this blueprint of how we're wired when we're born, and understand that, then we can just be completely ourselves. So what I love is working with parents so that they understand who their child is, how to support them in being completely themselves, so that they don't have to do the years of self-work that we've all had to do to like get rid of all that shit, you know, and get to the core of who we are, so that their child can just be seen and heard and understood from day one, and then go on, like you mentioned, to thrive in life and not have to be compromised, or not having to be less than, or settle, you know, or dull the light. And I think what an amazing future we could have if this whole generation of children are really just free to be everything they were born to be, and supported in that. Like, you know, how the world will shift. Really, if we're all operating correctly, then like the community is served, because there's a role, there's a function for everyone to support the common good of the tribe, right? Like back in the day, as we all show up, and you know, we feel content in ourselves, we feel satisfied, we feel at peace, we feel fulfilled, then how our children are raised in that same essence, and you know, going on for that next generation of the good things they can bring into the world, I just feel like it could be a completely different place to how it looks now. So I feel like my work is really for the next generation. And even in the human design textbooks, it says that this is designed for the children, or designed for the children. But this information that's come through, so the founder, Ruhu, he channeled all of this information in the 80s, living in Ibiza. He was almost like possessed by a voice for 5 days that just gave him all this information, all the science, all the math, all the like hugely intellectual, like I guess scientific studies of how it all connects together in this, you know, comprehensive system, and then left him, like, you know, after the 5 days. And he just had, like, you know, this whole book filled with this knowledge to share it with the world. But really, as much as we can understand ourselves in this generation, it's so that we can support the children who are coming up with this information. And I, you know, I see a future where perhaps even in schools, people will be educated according to their design, because, you know, we're not all receiving information in the same way. We don't all have the same cognition programming. We don't have the same brain functions. So what if that was understood as we entered into, you know, our education system, and it was shown, like, you know, how to support this person's learning experience, what kind of like visual techniques or auditory techniques or whether it's actually they need to be busy while they're learning, this child, or like this child works really best in calm situations. So we need to create like the calm corner for these children to learn. And then we need to have the stimulation corner where these children, they learn with the busyness and the action, and the nervous system being fired up is how they best take in information. So even just knowing something simple like that, it's like this one size fits all approach to education is just really not like effective, I feel. And that's just one component of human design. But I feel like, the more and more parents that not only get an understanding about themselves, because I think it's really important to start at the core of who you are and knowing how you're wired and how you're designed to operate, and make sure that you're in your correct flow, then you can be a better parent to then support your child for understanding who they are and what they need. And you see the differences and the similarities in it, so just like I find it's really helpful to hear personal experience, but a story that I can share about myself. Growing up, I'm the youngest of 4 girls, and being the youngest, it was always like, I have to be loud to be heard, and became almost the performer, and some of them might say the attention seeker. Like they were older than me, they were busy, and mom was occupied with them. So it was really like, if I want to be seen in this family, then I've got to get myself out there and like make sure I'm heard, which is like a part of who I am for sure. And that in my human design there is that like expressing through the voice and leading through the voice, and being free and being full in who I am, and sharing that out there. So growing up, I always wanted to participate and be the center of the action and be in the crowd, and like have the crowd all listen to me. In my human design, it says, I'm more of a type who is observed. So rather than being the observer, I am the observed. It all makes sense. So then when my daughter came along, and she didn't want to go in her dance class and participate, she didn't want to be seen, she didn't want to be involved in the action, she didn't want to be a part of things. It was like, well, what am I doing wrong? Why isn't she wanting to be like in the limelight like I used to be as a child? And so I would have pushed her into it, like, go on, get involved. It would make me feel more comfortable that she was participating with the group and being in with the friends. But once I got to know her design, she's the observer. She she's on the periphery. She watches everything. She notices every single tiny detail and learns through watching people. So instead of like me, I had to have that hands-on learning experience of learning through what I was doing and what I was bringing to the world. And like, I missed all the details because I was just so busy being a part of it and wanting people to look at me and notice me. Whereas she'll just stand there. She's got no interest. In fact, she doesn't like it when people notice her. She just likes to see. She penetrates deeply into the other person and sees like who they are and what they're doing and learns through that. But also, it's very discerning. So at first this was uncomfortable for me, and then I realized this is who she is. So instead of pushing her into situations and trying to make her be what I would have been or what I needed, or I just let her watch. And people are like, oh, does she not want to play? I'm like, oh, she's having a great time. She's having a great time right now. This is how she shows up in the world, is really seeing others and being a little bit more like outside of the action. And then she's a projector. So when people invite her in, when she feels invited and feels secure and comfortable, once she's warmed up a bit, that invitation will bring her in, and then she'll participate, but like in her comfort zone. She's not going to compromise herself for others. So I feel like just knowing her design, it's like, I get it now. There's no rush, there's no stress or like pushing her. It's like, just let her be her. She'll come in when she feels ready and invited.
I like that so much. It makes me, I have this vision of all these little kids playing on the playground and your daughter just kind of sitting back and watching, and some other kids saying, oh, well, like, why isn't she playing? And you're like, oh, no, she's a projector. Like,
Yeah.
see, these like having the kids having the language and understanding to get each other and then maybe not make fun of each other, which is so traumatizing for children also.
Totally. I mean, right now, she's nearly 4, but I feel like at her age, the kids kind of do get it, like they're still
Mm,
so pure, and they do see, like, oh, Misty watches everything. Like, and they just let her be her. She's the one that watches everything. It's kind of when we get older that maybe it becomes weird, perhaps, or like whatever society deems,
yeah.
because we live in a generator society. 70% of the world's population are the human design type, either generator or manifesting generator, and they bring the energy, they bring the action, they want to have this hands-on learning experience, and they are literally like generating energy through following their joy. And so we live in this world where it's got to be like go go go, and like bring all the energy, bring the life force. And so for types like hers, that's the projector, is really like against the common, like, what modern society, how it operates. But I think the kids just aren't, they haven't gotten so conditioned by society yet, so they get it that
Yeah,
not everyone needs to have like all this energy bouncing off the walls, and that some
absolutely.
children are just, there with like more of a subtle, calm, even tempo.
So, for anybody listening who doesn't have, I guess, a deeper understanding, or they're just completely new to human design, this might be a big ask, but can we get like a quick little rundown of the types?
Yep. So there's 4 main types in human design, with the 5th being a hybrid of 2 of the other types. And each type kind of gives you an idea. It's the foundation level of human design, but it's also the most important. So if you can only understand one thing about yourself, it's your type, because that really gives you the overview of your auric field and how it's functioning energetically. So the generator, like I mentioned, has this warm, enveloping, kind of like magnetic auric field that draws people in, lets people into its presence, like, makes you feel comfortable in a generator's presence. When a generator is really fired up doing the things they love, this energy is like amplified and contagious. It's like that light, that you can light others up with the way that generating energy shines into the world. But then equally, if it's not doing the things that it loves, then it's the opposite effect. They become depleted and drained, and that energy and that charge just isn't there. So you can kind of see it like plugging into a light switch or something. When the generator is really following its joy in life and its passions, it's really gonna like amplify that energy, bringing it out into the world. Then you have the manifestor. So the manifestor's auric field is a bit more shut off. They use the word repelling, which I don't really like to use, because I feel like it's not necessary. There's too many connotations in what repelling means. But what the manifestor energy does is it pushes things forward. So it's kind of like a shark, how a shark moves through the ocean, and you see like the sea life is all like being moved to get out of the way. It's like it's in this forward motion. And that's what the manifest is here to do. It's here to initiate things, to get things started, to move that energy forward so it can like flow and manifest, literally manifest whatever it's putting into action. Then you have the projector. The projector's auric field is also more closed off, but it's deeply penetrating into the other. So it sees really, really deeply. How I described with Misty, I kind of visualize it like a laser, that they are guarded and maybe sheltered in their own energy field, in that own aura, that they don't tend to let people in as much, unless they get really comfortable and you get to know them. Then you can see them for who they are. But they're more the guides in life, the people who see others so deeply that they gain a deeper perspective and more wisdom for how to guide others through what they're going through, or they lead by example and guide others through that way. So that, yeah, the projectors are that archetype of the guide. And then you have the reflector. And the reflector is like such an interesting type, because it's only 1% or less than 1% of the world's population. And in all the readings I've done, I've come across two reflectors, and one of them is actually my mother-in-law. So now I'm even more fascinated about her, because I'm like, I want to know more. Like, through her, I can learn a lot about what a reflector is. But their auric field is sampling. So it's taking little bits of everything and sort of mirroring it back, reflecting it back to society. So when you put all of these types together, you have the framework for like the tribe, okay? Because we're all here to play our archetypes, to play our roles. No one is better than the other, vice versa. It's all equal, because as the tribe functions, you have these different roles that are all there to serve the common good, and everyone brings their part and plays their part to support this direction that the tribe is the common goal. So you have the manifester, who's kind of like the archetype of the king, who I forgot to mention the manifesting generator, by the way, because I just mentioned the 4 types, but the manifesting generator is the hybrid of the manifestor and the generator. So it has sort of the dual components, but mostly it's, in the textbooks, it's always spoken about in terms of the generator, because it has that sacral buzz. But back to the tribe and how this all fits together. You have the manifestor, the archetype of the ruler or the king, the one who puts things in motion, uses words to express and communicate and initiate and put that plan into action. Then the generators are almost like the alchemists in their archetype. They conduct, they bring the energy, they put it into the experiment, and they conduct all the alchemy of bringing this project into fruition. The projectors are there to guide through the process, and then the reflectors are there to reflect back and mirror how the group is functioning together, and how to improve things, and how well the process has worked out.
So fascinating.
So in any company, you should have one of each of the types for it really to function at its best. And what is really cool, actually, my husband's family, there's 4 of them, and they have the 4 main types between them all. So it's kind of cool to see that, like, in its little bubble of how they all operate together as a family to sort of like bring each of their components in.
Even more fascinating.
Yeah, no, it's so crazy.
How cool. I love that. Goodness, I feel like we could just sit here and talk about this probably for forever.
I know there's so much, and this is really just, that's the foundation, the first thing. And then each type has a strategy. So when you know your type, then you get the information of how that type is best to operate. So like the manifestor is to initiate things and to, inform others and sort of plant those seeds for that action to be put in motion. And the generator is to respond to life, kind of like we mentioned, when you're lit up and responding positively, that magnetic field becomes even more attractive and attracts more opportunities to you. So it's to wait to respond. You don't need to get out there and initiate like the manifestor. Things come to you when you're really following your joy and doing the things that light you up. It's like there's more, you're brighter for things to see you and come your way. And then the projector is to wait for the invite, kind of how I mentioned with Misty. And people that really see the projector's wisdom will invite them in to share their knowledge. And then the reflector is to wait a lunar cycle. So the reflector being this kind of like, I see it like a translucent, reflective, like mirror. It's so deeply connected with the celestial world and the planets, and especially the moon. So for them, like, they follow their strategy, then it's really to wait and see what each phase of the moon brings for them before they make decisions and take action in life.
Oh my goodness. And now I'm so curious to dive deeper into this. So fascinating. So one more question before I ask you the big question of the super expander question, but what is your design? I don't know this answer to this.
So I'm a generator, and if you can feel my energy talking about human design, it's because I'm so lit up. It like literally just recharges my battery and amplifies my spirit. It gives me so much life. Because I really truly love doing this work, and I love the system. I love sharing and educating and talking about it. And you can feel that in my energy as I'm expressing it. So even though I am a mom of two, my youngest is 8 months old. We're not getting a lot of sleep. I'm tired. My brain doesn't really feel like it's functioning on its like sharpest level at all times. But this fuels my spirit so much. It gives me energy that even when I barely had any sleep and, you know, I've got all sorts of things going on, I do a few hours of work, my human design sessions in the morning before I pick my daughter up from preschool. And it just gives me so much life. It really, like, I'm following my design, you know, doing the things that light me up. It gives me so much life to be a better parent, to be a better wife, to be a better friend, to bring that into the world, and also, you know, to be a better human design reader. But so that's just one component of my design. The other things that we look at is our authority, and for me, I'm sacrally led. So it's you know, this chakra, the sacral center, and how it generates life force energy, and it's connected, you know, again, of what I've been saying, of putting it into the things that light you up and that you feel passionate about. And it's instantaneous, so it knows in the moment. I'm very spontaneous. I'll just know. And it also responds really good with like yes or no questions. So like that's the sacral authority. And then we also look at the profile line, and I'm a 3/5. So what that means, the 3 is always experimenting through trial and error, and kind of the career path that I've had is very much fitting with that part of my design, where I've been in the music industry as a singer, taking that into wellness, doing sound baths and sound healing and meditations, into Reiki, into biofeedback, into hypno breathwork, into all, you know, the amazing modalities, crystals and essential oils, and now human design, and bringing it all together. The 3 has taken little bits of everything in its non-linear journey as an experimentation to put together from this like buffet spread, this unique plate that only the 3, like, you know, can bring through its experimentation process. And then the 5 area is, you know, embodying that of a teacher and a leader. So sharing the learnings of the 3, all of the mistakes and failures of the 3, of what didn't work and what did work, and putting that all together as the 5, sharing that, and you know, leading others, teaching others, using the voice. There's so much else about the 5 too, but really it's here to make change. You know, it's someone who's revising the system and speaking up and speaking out about the things that work and the things that don't.
So good.
At least that's how I connect to it. And as I mentioned, like living the experiment, there's so much more I learn about each of these numbers and each of these types and authority, because you know, it's a lifelong process of getting connected and familiar with really what all of this even means in human design, but also how each individual expresses it differently. So I'm observing myself, and I think that's the whole part of human design, is that contemplation on self, of how do these things express through you and how do they show up, because someone else might have the 3/5 and it might look different, or show up in different ways for them, you know, especially if they're not a generator. Maybe they're a 3/5 projector, and then, you know, there's a whole different feeling or essence to that. So I love connecting with other human design geeks too, and just listening, like, how do you feel this? Like, how does this show up for you? Like, how has it been in living your experiment?
Oh, it's so fascinating. Yeah, I remember. I have a 3 in my profile too. So as you're saying that, I was like, but remember when we did mine, I have a 3. I'm a 3 and a 1/3. But the 3, I'm like, oh yeah, so that makes sense why I've had so many little different career journeys and paths.
Totally. And that's a major permission slip, you know, where like some people say, you know, I've got all these interests, but like it's so scattered. It's like, it's really not. It's they're all just parts that make up you as a whole. And a huge permission slip to have that kind of a journey, And to know that nothing is ever a mistake, nothing is ever failure, even though it seems like it at the time, it's actually a part of the threes process to learn and grow and to figure out what works.
Permission granted. So through all of this journey of learning through human design and just life in general, there had to have been a super expander in your journey. I'm sure there's probably, one or 100. I'd love for you to share a story with me, with the audience, with everyone listening. It's obviously my favorite. It's the whole thing's my favorite part is learning all of it, but I love hearing how people have been impacted by other people specifically and how it's changed the journey of their life, their trajectory of their life, really influenced them. I find these stories so fascinating.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many people in my life who have expanded me in so many ways and continue to do so, even, through the mastermind, meeting yourself and the other great people in our group. Like, I'm expanded by all of you. And I think maybe then connecting that dot of how we met through Francesca, who we both know.
Mm-hmm.
And she is the incredible Hypnobreathwork founder and who has created this amazing community that has put us all together. I've met so
Absolutely.
many incredible people like you through her. But really just watching her journey over the last, I think, just 2 years. I worked with her at Remedy Place, where I was doing sound baths and sound healing classes before the pandemic, and she was doing classes on breathwork at the time. And we met each other through there, and then the pandemic happened, Remedy Place closed, and everyone went online, and she started hosting community sound baths. And at the time, it was really helpful for me to join some of those community classes. Pandemic was tough with a 2-year-old, and then I also unfortunately had a pregnancy loss right in the first couple of weeks of the pandemic. So I gained so much from joining her community breathwork classes and breathing through the stress and the grief and the trauma of what was going on in the world. And at the time they were just donation-based classes. So I think people like myself would donate $25, maybe $35. And we were coming from Remedy Place in our classes, we were making $75 a class. So then watching her grow her business and share her incredible gifts with more and more people through these community sessions. There would be 50 people on a call, and then there would be 100 people on a call, then there would be 200 people on a call. And watching this evolve only in a matter of 3 months, I felt was just so inspiring. And how many people she was helping, just like myself, going through the most stressful of times in these unprecedented pandemic days. And then coming out of that, just really watching how she turned that into a business, and I think what she shares a story of going from the $75 a class and these donation-based things to her packages and to building a really lucrative business and connecting with really high profile and high performing elite CEOs and athletes, and seeing the work that she did with the guys from the Navy SEALs, these big burly men who would come for breathwork classes and just be breaking down in tears, so vulnerable, and sharing their stories of what they witnessed in combat and helping them heal through those moments, losing their brothers in arms and the tragedies of war, and how these men would share that they went from doing therapy sessions, years of therapy, and in one breathwork session or a series with Francesca, they did more than what they'd done in 10 years of therapy. I don't know, I'm paraphrasing, but just the real power in what she was offering, and then how she blended her background in hypnosis and her background in marketing into her own modality of hypnobreathwork, and sharing that with the world and seeing the results that it's had on so many people in the community. But I think the most inspiring thing for me is, yes, one, watching her grow a business to now, where she's just released an app and she's raised $1 million, and she shared, how how like financially she's built her business and how successful that has been, you know, in an economic way. But what I've really been drawn to her as a super expander is what we're capable of when we really step into our power and share our light with others. And I really see that journey for her, how she really has shared her heart, has shared her light, has inspired and lit up so many people through her journey, where we've all watched and been like, this is what's possible when you commit to something and show up every day and do it for the right reasons and have a heart intention, how you can really raise the consciousness for the collective and, you know, be in your power in doing so. And that's why I joined the mastermind, because I was like, I need some of that in my life.
She is, I think, the OG super expander, really. So much of what you said, all of it, she absolutely is. And I'm so glad that we share her as a super expander for both of us. And I know that so many people do. So such a gift. And I think one of the most wonderful things about her specifically is that she is so humble and so modest about all of it. And I think the biggest lesson from the success that she's had with the modality that she's brought to life, outside of the fact that just the modality in and of itself is absolutely life-changing. But there's a lot of different modalities out there that can be life-changing, but the piece of this one in particular, and her as the forward facing person of it, is listening to your intuition and not allowing the outside influences. I mean, there's so much healing that comes out of it, but I think we all so often have these amazing talents and gifts and ideas and things that we have to bring to the world. But then the outside world tells you how to bring it to life, or maybe that you shouldn't bring it to life, that it doesn't have value. But somewhere inside of you, your intuition is pushing you. But we so often let the outside world either make us small or talk us out of things. And it's such a shame. And so this, I think she's just a shining reflection of the power of just listening to that voice and trusting.
Totally. It's so true. Like, you are the power, and gone is the day of the old paradigm where you look up to some person or being or deity as having that power over you, but knowing that that is inside you. And she really helps you access that internal power where, like, you see that you have that power inside.
Yeah, such goodness. So in regards to that, I feel like it's like the perfect time to ask, what is it that gets you up in the morning? What is it that you're reaching for, that feeling that, I don't know, kind of validates that you're on the right path, that you're, I don't know, but it's more than that, more than validates the right path, because I feel like the feeling that drives us is so much bigger, and the awareness of reaching for it is so much more powerful than having a goal, or reaching for money or things. So what is it for you?
Well, I have to say my children, obviously.
Uh,
I mean, like, really, I want to be the role model for them of like what they can achieve in life, you know? And so as simple as that, like, I want to show them everything that they're capable of by leading the way for them. You know, if I can have my hopes and dreams and go after them, and they can witness that, then they can see it's possible in their lives too, just like, you know, I've seen in Francesca. So you know, I just want them to uh see the possibilities in life and give them the best platform to start from. Just let them be themselves. And I just feel like I get so much joy in being around them and being their mom, and I want to see like what they're here to bring into the world, and show and support them in doing that. But I feel like it's the oxygen mask analogy first. You know, I have to be that person so that they can be their person, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I fully grasp and get that. Being a mom, uh, yes, I totally get that. So
And
good.
yeah, I feel like there's probably so much more I can say on that note, but I really like, I lost the dream for a long time, because back in the day, my dream was to be this pop star, come out to LA, go to music school, perform in Hollywood, and be signed and be famous. And when that stopped becoming my dream, it was really difficult for me to have another dream. So for years, I just didn't have a dream. I didn't have a goal. You know, there were things I loved, and I, you know, did all the stuff like I've mentioned. And it really like, you know, made me feel good. But I never had this like vision, this goal of like what I was aiming for, what the ultimate result would be. And it was only recently that I saw that for myself. And it was almost like in hindsight, like as I'm older, but looking back, where my children are proud of what I've done. That is my goal. That is my dream, that my children look at like their mom and think, I'm gonna get emotional, but like she is an amazing, she's amazing, not only as an amazing mom, but as an amazing entrepreneur, or amazing how she's lit up other people in life, the amazing like impact she's had on others as a super expander maybe, right? And so my goal, my dream was for my children to be able to look at my life and just be so extremely proud that I'm their mom.
You're making me emotional. I love
You're
that.
right. Straight
Let's
from the
hit,
heart.
yes, we'll hit pause while we both grab our tissues, because I'm feeling it too. So if you could give just some kind of parting wisdom, a juicy nugget of gold, it could even be something that you might have given advice to your younger self. What might it be? It's kind of like your moment to collapse time for the audience to be a super expander.
Don't
The whole
give your
podcast really is
yeah.
your platform for that, but this is condensing it down. It's a lot of pressure.
I think through the journey that I've been on, what I've learned is just not to give your power away. Just what we said before, that like you are the power. You have that power. The power is within you. And yes, you know, we grow up and go through life circumstances, situations, people in our lives or whatever, and you know, maybe we give that power away. But my whole journey has been gaining that power back, so that I can have that light to shine. And so I would tell my 16-year-old self, I would tell this to my children, is like, don't give your power away to other people. Be you, and know that you have the answers inside. Exactly as we mentioned with the hypnobirth work, of like accessing that intuition. It's not for other people to tell you what's right or what's wrong. You've got that answer. You know it. And it's just a case of maybe having the coaching or the support to find it, or the modalities or the tools to find it, but you don't need to look outside, and you don't need to give it to other people to tell you. So I hope that the next generation is just in their power, in their designs, operating completely correctly and fully, and being everything that they are here born to be, so that they can just really make this world like transformed the best possible ways.
And you are here to create that ripple effect. So how can everyone listening, how can the audience find you? What is the best way to get into your world?
I'm on Instagram, Colette Carlson. My website is colettecarlson.com. And I'd love for you to message me, email me through those channels, and connect with you. If there's any information that you would like more on like human design or human design parenting or sound baths, meditations, then my passion and my pleasure is sharing that with people. So love to hear from you.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, you must go have a reading. And if you are a parent, it's an absolute must that you go take her course so that you can really understand your children and make sure that you can support them in not giving their power away, that you can help cultivate it and nurture it and yeah, foster that in your children. Thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom, for sharing your light, for taking the time. I know that it's busy having children and running a business, so I appreciate that you were able to come and chat here.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so grateful for you, and I'll catch you on the next episode.
Thank you so much.